Good evening and welcome to The Story. I'm Evan Watson in for Blair Best tonight. It's not getting any cheaper to live in and around the city of Portland. The utility fee hikes coming next month have the most attention, but they're not alone. And what might seem like a small price to pay could quickly rack up. It's our big story tonight. The cost to park in Portland is climbing. City leaders are set to enact the biggest meter fee increase in Portland's history on July 1st, less than a month away. And it might not stop there. So what's going on with the Bureau of Transportation in a financial crisis? If you work or visit downtown and get here by car, you'll soon feel this extra pinch. Yellow tickets dot the windshields of cars in downtown Portland. The only defense, feeding the meter. In less than a month, the price to park will jump, with Portland enacting the largest parking meter increase in the city's history.
Oh my gee. That's getting a little bit outrageous.
An hour of parking in downtown Portland will soon cost $3.60, including a planned price hike and new fees recently added by Portland City Council. Just 3 years ago, in 2022, it cost $2.20 to park for an hour in the city's core. The rising costs are similar in other parts of the city.
That's quite a considerable jump in a short amount of time.
Portland is making more money on parking year after year, but the city's Bureau of Transportation says it's in deeper trouble than ever. A transportation budget presentation sparked this reaction from Councilwoman Olivia Clark.
I have to say this is probably the most depressing presentation I've had since I've been here. It's a shame, and I'm embarrassed by the condition of our assets and what we can do about it.
So facing a $38 million PBOT budget deficit and the Bureau's now depleted general fund, Mayor Keith Wilson is betting on parking rate hikes, extending meter hours until 10 p.m., and a major transportation package from Asylum, all to avoid sweeping cuts.
We have a funding system that is fatally flawed. Doing nothing is not a course of action. If it happens to be parking meter downtown, sure, it's gone up and we're very sorry about that, but it's understandable because we've got to maintain our infrastructure.
But will it be enough? With rising rates and other changes, people aren't parking like they used to.
People don't want to meet me down here. They don't want to drive down here because of, the parking.
PBOT projects to bring in about $30 million from parking meters this fiscal year, and revenues have grown steadily since the COVID-19 pandemic. But the city still hasn't matched the $35 million it made from meters in 2018, when parking rates were nearly half the price citywide, showing major changes in parking behavior and an overall lower demand.
We're certain that that number will start coming back.
You believe more people are going to be parking in Portland?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing the trends.
Then there are people like Kyle Davey.
I'm downtown in the Portland area all the time.
He owns a vending machine business, making dozens of quick stops around the city, and he's honest.
If I'm just going to be there for 10 or 15 minutes on a very short business trip, then I typically skip the Parking Kitty app, yeah.
A 15-minute stop in downtown will cost $1.35 starting in July, nearly double the 70 cents it cost 3 years ago. Davey says it's a business decision to roll the dice, especially with fees going up.
I'm sure I would be up in the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if I had paid every single time that I'm parked.
Instead, he's gotten a couple tickets, saved money in the long run, and believes other people think the same way.
About half the cars on this street have a yellow ticket under their windshield wiper right now, so I'm thinking that most people are probably taking that calculated risk.
Ultimately, he's right. Portland doesn't make money on parking tickets. Revenue has stayed flat for years, and it costs PBOT roughly twice as much to pay people to give out tickets. Mayor Wilson says parking rate and hour changes will raise $6.8 million. PBOT projects close to double that, about $12 million more in revenue.
How confident do you feel in those projections that you'll get that with the parking hikes?
Absolutely confident.
There's also something else. Wilson and PBOT Director Millicent Williams are thinking about adding a new fee for Portlanders.
We're looking at everything.
A transportation utility fee. Other cities in Oregon add flat charges on utility bills to pay for road repair. This would add to rising costs. Portland already plans to increase city water and sewer bills by 6.3% starting this July.
What's the likelihood we'd see a proposal for a transportation utility fee, say, in the next year?
Yeah, right now, Evan, we have a budget and I have 12 counselors to work with. Let's save that for another day.
Lisa Stopp says a transportation utility fee sounds challenging for many.
Hit with that, and then also hit with the higher parking fees and probably higher ticket fees. You know, it's like it's a huge ding.
Facing rising costs,
What do you think, Pepper?
she says she might think twice about driving.
Walks are free. This is true.
All right, let's pause for a moment on that utility fee idea. It's been something that I've been looking into for a few months now. They are not technically taxes. Utility fees do not require voter approval, and they can be adjusted and increased at will by government leaders, usually to help with budget shortfalls. As part of a previous investigation, I found nearly 36 Oregon cities with at least one of these utility fees, ranging from $2 a month all the way up to $45 a month, funding things like transportation and public safety. Here are a few examples. Gresham has one that's $15 a month, mostly for police and fire. $10 a month in Hillsborough for transportation, nearly $17 a month in Lake Oswego for street repairs, and $40 a month in West Lynn for transportation costs. The full list of utility fees I uncovered is available on our website, kgw.com. The city of Portland could be the next to join. By the way, parking fees are the second biggest revenue source for PBOT. The top driver is the state's gas tax, which has dwindled for years but is likely to be raised as part of the big transportation package in the legislature, which, by the way, still has not been released, though we're hearing it could come as soon as tomorrow, giving lawmakers less than a month to get it to the governor's desk before the session ends on June 29th. So what do you think about the parking rate hikes in Portland? Or maybe you have something to say about those utility fees. Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. And while we impatiently wait for that transportation funding package in Salem, let's get to some of your thoughts on our story last night, looking at alternative proposals that came from both a faction of Democrats and the GOP. The only framework we've seen of the initial plan included these fee hikes: a 20-cent per gallon jump in the gas tax over the span of 6 years, a $66 increase in registration fees, a $90 increase in vehicle title fees, and a new system use fee, which would be a 1% fee the state would collect when you buy a vehicle based on how much it costs. And plans to phase in a pay-per-mile plan, starting with electric vehicles as early as next year. EVs, of course, not paying the gas tax that gas vehicles do. Some Democrats want to take that further, raising the gas tax by 40 cents, using the money to prevent service cuts at transit agencies and putting more money toward safe school routes and EV grants and rebates. Republicans, meantime, proposed their own framework, mostly cutting funding elsewhere rather than raising taxes, like moving $146 million from climate initiatives to the state highway fund, taking $38 million from passenger rail service and using the public transit payroll tax to help truckers with the tax break, and later using the money for that highway fund. Several of you who responded to us side with Republicans on taking money from transit.
I think that the Republicans hit the nail on the head. The Democrats are just out in left field. I see bus after bus after bus in Portland with no riders on it. Why are the taxpayers paying for these buses to be running down the streets when no one's riding them? Why are we buying new ones and putting them on the road, and electric buses and putting them on the road when nobody's riding the TriMet? It needs to stop being taxpayer funded. They can't make it on their own, and they should fold it up.
Terry says a new plan should, quote, include increasing transit fares instead of adding more subsidies, and adding a surcharge to help pay for the damage buses do to the streets and the roads. This also must include bicyclists paying their own way, possibly requiring registration and license fees for bicycles so that bicycle infrastructure is directly funded by the users. The prejudice demonstrated by some legislators against the family car is simply anti-American.
The people that use the public transportation should pay for it. The rest of us shouldn't pay for it. I don't get any use out of it. It doesn't do a damn thing for me.
Ron wrote to us, why are there so many vehicles on the road with no license plates or expired ones? It sounds like the Democrats want the law-abiding citizens to pay for ODOT's shortcomings instead of enforcing current laws. And on that for a moment, because we do often hear that claim about no plates and expired registration, ODOT is not in charge of enforcing whether or not someone is up to date. That is up to the local jurisdictions. And Fred wrote to us, why do lawmakers continue to use language that's designed to manipulate and deceive taxpayers? A system use fee calculated as 1% of the sales price of a vehicle, everyone knows that is a sales tax. Please just call it that. All the fees we pay are just taxes. Who do the politicians think they are fooling? We actually asked one of the co-chairs of the Joint Transportation Committee about that system use fee and its naming back in April, and why they don't just refer to it as a sales tax.
And there are 45 other states that may call it sales tax. But what it is a user fee. And what we're saying is that there's going to be a one-time systems charge or fee that they will pay when they buy a vehicle. And that 1% charge or fee is going to allow them to have actually something of a system that doesn't have potholes or problems. And so they won't be harming that new vehicle or that vehicle that is new to them as a purchased way of getting around their communities. And quite frankly, out of the 45 states that use this type of user fee, it is one that is in the top 3 revenues of how they fund their transportation system. So we're not new, we're not on the cutting edge. This is something that 45 other states actually already do.
The full transportation package proposal from Salem is expected any day now, and we'll bring you the details as soon as we get them. An update tonight on the case of an asylum seeker from Mexico detained as she left a federal immigration courtroom on Monday. It was the first example of ICE using this Trump administration deportation tactic here in Portland. The Department of Homeland Security now says the woman will not be immediately deported. Lawyers for the 24-year-old transgender Mexican woman say their client fled Mexico in September 2023 after suffering violence from a cartel due to her gender identity and sexual orientation. When she arrived for her court hearing Monday, she did not have a lawyer with her. ICE lawyers asked to dismiss her asylum case, and a judge agreed. She was then arrested by ICE right when she left the courtroom in order to put her in an expedited removal process, a strategy that provides fewer legal protections than seeking asylum. According to DHS, while she was being processed, the woman claimed fear of returning to Mexico, so she is now referred for a credible fear interview. That stops any expedited deportation. DHS says until that interview happens, ICE will not deport her. She's being held in the Tacoma Detention Center that the story team told you about earlier this week. Lawyers with Innovation Law Lab are challenging her deportation. Up next on the story, how the FBI says they thwarted a plan for a major attack on a Southwest Washington mall. Plus, during an investigation into theft from Joint Base Lewis McChord, officers found a stash of weapons and Nazi memorabilia. What neighbors said about the discovery when the story returns. The Cowlitz County Sheriff's Office arrested a man who allegedly tried to trade an illegal gun for an ATV through Facebook Marketplace. Someone told police that 40-year-old Jacob Dixon of Salem offered them a fully automatic submachine gun, a suppressor, and a motorcycle in exchange for an ATV. Dixon even sent a video showing the gun was functional and fully automatic. Detectives and a SWAT team arranged a fake meetup yesterday and arrested Dixon. The gun did not have a serial number, and Dixon is already a convicted felon for previous weapons offenses. The FBI says a Columbia County teenager is in custody, accused of planning a mass shooting at the Three Rivers Mall in Kelso, Washington. They say the attack was imminent. The boy was arrested May 22nd, just days after posting plans for the attack in an online chat room. At a press conference this afternoon at Portland's FBI field office, agents told us the teen had been planning the attack since earlier in the year and posted the plans on May 17th.
The subject had been planning a mass casualty event at the Kelso Mall since early this year. They had very detailed plans, as well as an intent and means to carry out their plan. The plan included a map of the mall, a route the shooter would follow, a plan to use an improvised explosive device known as a chlorine bomb to cause panic and then shoot mall patrons in the mall, as well as those exiting the movie theater.
The FBI says they got a tip about the plans on May 19th, identified the boy the next day, and then spent 2 days doing surveillance before arresting him. Agents served a search warrant at his home on the 22nd, seizing 3 guns, multiple boxes of ammunition, 4 knives, 5 digital devices, and clothes he had apparently decided to wear in the attack. The FBI says he had also pledged support to several online extremist groups. Meanwhile, in Washington, federal authorities have also been busy investigating theft from Joint Base Lewis McChord, south of Tacoma. 2 military veterans are accused of trying to steal weapons, and police say the men have ties to a Nazi organization, which lines up considering what was found inside a recently searched home. Drew Mickelson brings us the details.
The men left a trail of evidence behind. A Thurston County judge ordered both of them held on $500,000 bail each. The detectives and the judge consider them an extreme danger, and so do their neighbors. In this Lacey neighborhood, folks used to leave their doors unlocked.
Immediate fear, very uncomfortable. You never know what your neighbors are doing, what they're into.
Things changed overnight Monday after Thurston County detectives raided a home and say they found dozens of military-grade weapons inside. Some they believe were stolen from the Army. Rifles were found posted beneath windows. Also inside the home, a Nazi flag and Nazi memorabilia.
I'm still shaken to the core. We set up for Gay Pride every June, so that's an automatic target. My skin color, me being married to a woman also.
According to detectives, the 2 men, military veterans, were trying to break into the Ranger Regiment area of Joint Base Lewis McChord. They're accused of trying to steal body armor, helmets, and military equipment. They allegedly got in a fight with a soldier, hitting him in the head with a hammer. Detectives say online evidence suggests they're affiliated with the white nationalist socialist movement. Evidence left behind and surveillance video from the base's entrance gate helped detectives identify the suspects.
To consider that they both served in the Army is just mind-boggling. For one, for you to hurt your fellow battle buddy that you were at war with at once upon a time like that is even more disheartening.
Very worried for my children. Very concerning to know that they were right here. This is what was in their home.
Neighbors say now they'll be less trusting and much more cautious. Tia Hamilton had to explain to her kids what Nazis are.
It could be my neighbor, your neighbor, who knows? But they're definitely out here for sure.
Military police say they initially had a pretty good lead in the case because there was a hat left behind on base that apparently had the name of one of the men on it. They right now are facing weapons charges here in Thurston County, but this easily could result in some federal charges for those crimes allegedly committed on Joint Base Lewis McChord.
Up next on the story, the Oregon connection to a case of animal cruelty in the state of Idaho. A group of sled dogs rescued from mistreatment, now rehabbing and close to a comeback. That's next when the story returns. Earlier this year, deputies rescued 5 sled dogs from a property in Valley County, Idaho, northeast of Boise. But instead of fully rehabbing at a local shelter, staff determined the unique dogs would do better with specialized care, and they found a man in Bend for the job. Now the dogs are close to a comeback. A bit of a warning, you're about to see some graphic pictures of how the dogs were mistreated. Aspen Shumpert brings us the story of their recovery.
Being on the back of the sled is the payoff for all the work you do with the dogs.
That's how dog sled musher Trevor Van Langendon from Oregon says he feels when he's competing with a pack.
You stand back there and you watch the dogs do the thing that they're born and bred to do. There's a certain peace that you find out on the trail with the dogs.
He says the mushing community across the region runs strong, which is how he fits into this Idaho dog rescue story. In February, Valley County Sheriff's deputies seized 5 Alaskan Huskies after a complaint of alleged animal cruelty. Court documents show 2 other dogs on the property died from the neglect, all allegedly deprived of food, water, and shelter over a 6-week period at the beginning of this year.
It was hard at first.
Officers took the surviving dogs to McPaws Regional Animal Shelter in McCall for care. Ashley Colglazer is the manager there.
When they came in, they were super malnourished, super dehydrated. One of them tried to eat a cell phone.
The smallest dog, Tosca, weighed just 27 pounds when she arrived. Colglazer says the 4 others, Reggie Sterling, Sox, and Zuma, weren't far off from that, all nearly half the healthy weight they should be.
They were so anxious about eating that they would just scarf down their food, so we had to get them slow feeders. At the beginning, they were really shy, really reserved, but as soon as they realized that we're the ones feeding them, we're the ones giving them that outside enrichment, they turned around and they became our best friends.
Before Seas, the Huskies had been in the care of former musher and McCall man Kevin Doherty. He raced in the 2020 Idaho Sled Dog Challenge, placing 10th in the 100-mile race, and again in 2023, placing 5th.
I could still see that light in their eye, like they still want to fight to get better.
Over 2 months, the shelter staff nursed all 5 dogs back to health with specialized diets and round-the-clock care.
They were totally different dogs when they left us. They were happy to jump in the truck. They knew exactly what kind of truck it was, and they were like, all right, I'm jumping in my box.
That is Van Langendon's truck.
I had tears of joy. He came into the yard with all 5 of the Huskies, and he just sat on the ground and just had them come up to him, and he was super respectful of their boundaries.
We were kind of a perfect landing spot for them. And in the mushing community, these kind of things do not happen very often. And when they do, on the rare occasion that they do happen, we like to keep the dogs within the community.
It was really exciting to see, and it was really nice to find somebody who understands these types of dogs.
The dogs have been with Van Langendon since April.
Reggie and Tosca.
He says they are settling in well, joining 70 other dogs, part of their sled dog operation. Van Langendon says he's taking their recovery slowly and seriously.
Good girl.
The dogs give us so much, especially as mushers. They bring us so much happiness in our lives, and they give us a purpose to be out on the trail. We wouldn't be out on the trail if it weren't for the dogs, and so we have a responsibility to give them excellent care and love and attention.
Trevor, the Oregon musher there, says he hopes to bring the 5 dogs back to the Idaho Sled Dog Challenge when they are ready. As for the man charged with 7 counts of animal cruelty, he pleaded not guilty. A judge prohibited him from owning any new dogs. If found guilty, the maximum penalty for each count is 6 months in jail and a $5,000 fine. That is the end of our show for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next. If you ever miss an episode of The Story at 6:30, we re-air that episode at 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. over on our TV and streaming app, KGW+. You can also catch it the next morning at 11:30. Download the free app now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. In the meantime, have a brilliant Thursday night, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30. Till then.